Some objects don't just belong to a family. They watch the family. They wait, silently, for the next pair of hands. Tonight's story is not about ghosts in abandoned houses or shadows in empty hallways. It is about something far more disturbing. An object that moved from owner to owner, changing lives, breaking bloodlines, and leaving behind a trail of unexplained deaths. What you are about to hear is a true story reported from Blackmoor County, England, in 1987, a place where history refuses to stay buried. This is the story of an heirloom that never wanted to be inherited. And once you hear what happened to those who owned it, you may never look at old family treasures the same way again. In the spring of 1987, a man named Eldrick Hawthorne, aged 41, moved back to his ancestral estate on the outskirts of Blackmoor County, a fog-drenched rural region in southern England. Eldrick was a private archivist by profession, known for documenting lost family histories and rare artifacts. He had returned after the sudden death of his estranged aunt, Morwenna Hawthorne, a woman the village avoided even mentioning by name. Morwenna had lived alone for decades in the Hawthorne Manor, a crumbling stone house surrounded by twisted oak trees and land no one dared to buy. When Eldrick arrived to settle her estate, the locals offered condolences, but never sympathy. Instead, they watched him with quiet fear, as if he had stepped into something he couldn't escape. Inside the manor, the air felt unnaturally cold, even in daylight. Every clock in the house had stopped at 2:17 a.m., and no matter how many times Eldrick rewound them, they refused to tick. That was the first sign something was wrong. While sorting through Morwenna's belongings, Eldrick discovered a locked wooden chest hidden beneath the floorboards of the study. The chest was carved with symbols that didn't match any known language. Sharp, circular markings that looked scratched rather than engraved. Inside lay a single object. A handheld mirror, framed in blackened silver, its surface slightly warped. It was heavier than it looked, unnaturally so. A faded note rested beneath it, written in Morwenna's handwriting. It read, "This was never meant to stay. It only chooses." That same night, Eldrick dreamt of unfamiliar faces. Men, women, even children, each holding the mirror, each screaming as their reflection smiled back at them. He woke at exactly 2:17 a.m., gasping for air, the sound of something tapping gently from inside the walls. Over the next few days, strange events followed the mirror's presence. Eldrick began experiencing intense mood swings, unexplainable headaches, and vivid memories that were not his own. He would see flashes of fires, funerals, and blood-stained hands whenever he touched the frame. A local historian, Dr. Alistair Crowe, later confirmed that the mirror had appeared in Hawthorne records as far back as 1793, always resurfacing after a death, always changing owners. Every recorded owner had suffered ruin, financial collapse, madness, or violent ends. Yet none of them ever threw it away. The most disturbing detail was this: every owner believed the mirror had chosen them. And now, it had chosen Eldrick. That was only the beginning. After learning the mirror's history, Eldrick Hawthorne considered removing it from the manor. Yet every time he packed it away, something stopped him. A tightening in his chest, a whisper at the edge of hearing, a certainty that the mirror did not want to be moved. Days turned into weeks. Eldrick began documenting his experiences, believing logic could protect him. But the mirror did not obey logic. Each night, his reflection changed. Sometimes it blinked when he didn't. Sometimes it lingered, staring after Eldrick turned away. And once, only once, it whispered his name in a voice that sounded older than language. At 2:17 a.m., the tapping returned. Not from the walls anymore. From inside the mirror. Eldrick reached out and touched the glass. The surface was warm. And for a brief moment, his reflection smiled, while his own face remained frozen in fear. Disturbed and desperate, Eldrick contacted Serena Vale, a British-American psychic researcher based in Oxfordshire. She was known for investigating cursed artifacts using both historical evidence and controlled spiritual sessions. When Serena arrived at the manor, she refused to step into the study. She claimed the mirror was anchored, not to the house, not to the land, but to bloodlines. Serena revealed records Eldrick had never seen. Every owner of the mirror was not chosen randomly. They were descendants of families that once participated in a secret ritual in the late 1700s, a failed attempt to bind death itself. The mirror was never meant to be an object of reflection. It was meant to be a door. According to Serena, the mirror didn't bring misfortune. It collected it. Grief, regret, unfinished lives. And when it grew full, it demanded a transfer. That night, Serena attempted a cleansing ritual. Candles circled the mirror. Salt lined the floor. Ancient prayers echoed through the manor. At 2:17 a.m., the candles extinguished themselves. The mirror cracked. Not shattered, cracked, like a fracture in reality. From inside the glass, voices began speaking. Multiple voices. Some begging, some angry, one laughing. Serena collapsed mid-ritual, screaming that something had attached itself to her. Her eyes rolled back as she whispered a name Eldrick had never told anyone. Morwenna. By morning, Serena was gone. No signs of struggle. No footprints. No trace, except a single handprint on the mirror's surface, pressed from the inside. Eldrick finally understood the truth. The mirror didn't curse people. It continued them. And now, it was hungry again. Serena Vale was officially declared missing 3 days later. Authorities classified her disappearance as a voluntary vanishing, citing her history of dangerous investigations. But Eldrick knew better. The mirror had taken her. Unable to sleep, Eldrick began tracing the mirror's path through recorded deaths, journals, and forgotten parish logs. What he found was worse than folklore. In 1812, the mirror belonged to Thaddeus Bloomwright, a London violinist whose entire family died within a year of receiving it. In 1864, it resurfaced with Evangeline Moorcroft, an American heiress who claimed her reflection spoke in her father's voice before she drowned in a dry bathtub. In 1929, it passed to Rowan Blackfell, a Wall Street trader who predicted the market crash days before leaping from his office window at 2:17 a.m. Each owner died or vanished. Each transfer occurred after a moment of grief. Each believed the mirror was offering something in return. But Eldrick noticed something new. The time between transfers was shortening. Earlier owners kept the mirror for decades. Morwenna Hawthorne had held it for only 11 years. Eldrick had possessed it for less than 2 months, and the mirror was already cracking further. One evening, Eldrick recorded himself speaking directly to it, hoping to document proof of hallucination. As he watched the footage later, his blood ran cold. The reflection answered questions Eldrick hadn't asked aloud. It spoke of unfinished debts, of names scratched out of history, of a promise that would soon be collected. That night, Eldrick dreamt of a long hallway lined with mirrors. Each one reflected a different version of him, older, broken, screaming, dead. At the end stood a child holding the black-framed mirror, whispering, "It's your turn to pass it on." The following morning, a package arrived at the manor. No return address. Inside was an old family tree, updated in fresh ink. Eldrick's name was circled. Beneath it was written, "Eligible successor identified." The mirror was no longer waiting. It was preparing. And for the first time, Eldrick wondered if the only way to survive was to let someone else inherit the fate. Eldrick Hawthorne spent his final days inside the manor preparing for something he never imagined he would accept. He no longer tried to destroy the mirror. He no longer covered it or turned it toward the wall. Instead, he listened. The mirror began showing him memories that were not his own. Owners before Morwenna, before names were written, before records survived. They all tried to run. They all failed. But one memory was different. In 1793, A woman named Isolde Greymark survived. She did not cleanse the mirror. She did not break it. She completed the transfer willingly, without fear, without resistance. The mirror did not punish willingness. It punished delay. Following Isolde's method, Eldrick realized the truth. The mirror could only be passed during a moment of shared grief, when both giver and receiver stood emotionally open. That night, Eldrick invited his estranged younger cousin, Maribel Hawthorne, age 29, to the manor under the excuse of settling inheritance matters. She arrived unaware of the mirror's nature, already grieving the recent loss of her child. At 2:17 a.m., Eldrick showed her the mirror. For a moment, nothing happened. Then Maribel gasped. She saw her child smiling back at her. The mirror did not lie. It reflected what the heart wanted most. Eldrick felt the weight lift instantly. The tapping stopped. The whispers faded. The mirror accepted its new owner. Eldrick left Blackmoor County the next morning. He never returned. He lived another 23 years, never once experiencing another supernatural event. Maribel, however, vanished within 6 months. The mirror was later found in an estate auction in Seattle, USA, 2011, listed simply as Antique Silver Mirror, Family Owned. No mention of curses. No warnings. Because heirlooms don't end. They only move on. Some families pass down memories. Some pass down traditions. And some pass down things that should never be inherited. If you've ever experienced strange events linked to old objects, jewelry, furniture, photographs, or heirlooms, share your story in the comments. Your experience might help someone else recognize the signs before it's too late. If this story kept you listening until the end, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who believes certain objects carry more than history. Because sometimes, the past isn't finished with us.